What if we could take an existing video and then swap the character out with a new character using a reference image? Well, that's exactly what this new AI called Mocha does. This is a free and open source AI tool by this Orange team, and this allows you to replace any character in an existing video just with a reference image of your new character. And as you can see here, it's able to match all the movements of your original character, including hand gestures and facial expressions and lip movements. Plus, it's also able to match the white balance and colors of the original video, so your new character will blend in seamlessly. Here's another really cool example for your reference. Notice that the subtitles remain unchanged in this video, so it knows to only segment out and replace the original character and keep the rest of the video the same. Now, a few weeks ago, I featured another really similar tool called WanAnimate, which also allows you to replace a character in a video with a new character. In fact, if you want to learn more about WanAnimate, see this video for a full installation tutorial. This is also super useful. But anyways, back to Mocha, they claim that this is even better than WanAnimate, especially in preserving the colors of the original scene so that your character blends in more seamlessly. So as you can see from this Spider-Man example, the white balance of both Kling and WanAnimate are not generated as well as Mocha. Here's another example where it's a really tricky scene and the light bulb is moving in all directions. As you can see, in terms of seamlessly inserting this character to blend in with the original background, it seems like Mocha does a better job than WanAnimate or Kling. Here's another example for your reference. As you can see, Mocha just handles the white balance a bit better than the other competitors. Mocha is also much better at handling these uncommon looking characters. So for example, if we have this character with a mask, notice that WanAnimate is not actually able to generate this character very well. But Mocha is able to insert this character very seamlessly while retaining all the details in the reference photo. Here's another example for your reference, and as you can see, it's even able to capture talking and subtle facial expressions. This is definitely one of the best character transfer or lip sync tools that you can use right now. Now, here are some of my personal demos as well. By the way, here's what the interface looks like, and don't worry, I'll go over how exactly to install and use this in the latter half of this video. Anyways, for my input video, I'm going to use this. And for my reference character, actually, let me try to turn the dude into this 3D Pixar character. All right, and here's what I got. Let me just expand this video for you, and as you can see, this does the character swap really well. It's able to completely transfer over his lip movements and his hand gestures and his entire body movements. Plus, it's even also able to get the reflection on the table correct. This is an incredibly powerful tool. Alright, now instead of this video, let me try another example. This time I'm gonna upload this anime video and then let's swap her out for another anime character. I'm gonna insert this reference character and then press run. Alright, here's what we get. So let me expand the video for you in full. And as you can see, it's also able to transfer the new character over pretty well. Now, I especially chose this character because her outfit is super complicated. It was able to get her hair correct, but the subtle details aren't really there. For example, she's missing the sleeves on her arms, plus the gold pin on her head is also not entirely correct. So those were some of my quick demos. Next, let's go over how to actually install this and use it on your computer. Now, if you click on this GitHub repo on their official project page, they do offer some code on how you can run this original version on your computer. But what we're going to do is use ComfyUI. This is the most popular platform for running open source video, image, and audio generators offline. And the awesome thing about ComfyUI is you can add a ton of plugins to your workflow to really optimize the efficiency if you have limited compute. Plus, it also has automatic offloading. So if the models are not able to entirely fit on your VRAM, it's going to automatically offload some of that to your CPU. So this video assumes you already have ComfyUI installed. If you don't, definitely see this video where I go over step-by-step how to install and use ComfyUI. So anyways, if you scroll up here, notice that there's already a ComfyUI workflow that incorporates Mocha. So let's click on this, and this is the one and only ComfyUI WanVideoWrapper by this goat called Kijai. Now, the first step is we need to install this WanVideoWrapper first. So if we scroll down a bit, here are all the installation instructions. So let's go over this really quickly. So first we need to go to our ComfyUI folder. Notice that I'm using Comfy Windows Portable, which is the recommended version. So let's double click on ComfyUI and then custom nodes. And then at the top here, simply type CMD to open this folder up in command prompt. So here it says we just need to clone this repo into the custom nodes folder. So I'm going to scroll up to the top of this GitHub repo and then click on this green button and then copy this URL. And then over here, I'm going to write git clone and then paste the URL in here. Now I already have this, so the message that I got is this already exists. Now if you're like me and you already have this installed, but you did this a long time ago, then it's also worth updating this wrapper first. So how you do that is first let's exit out of command prompt, and then in my custom nodes folder we need to actually head to this WanVideoWrapper. So let's double click into this, and then again at the top here let's type in CMD to open this up in command prompt. And then afterwards, we just need to write git pull like this. So it's going to proceed to pull all the updates that are from the latest version on GitHub. Now, let's say you're installing this fresh for the first time. You also need to install the dependencies that are listed in this requirements.txt file. So in order to do that, if you're running the Windows Portable version, we need to run this code. So let's first exit out of this command prompt, and then in my ComfyUI folder, notice that this is the root folder, which is called by default ComfyUI Windows Portable. At the top here, let's type in CMD again to open this up in command prompt. And then afterwards, all we need to do is copy this line and then paste it in here. So basically what this does is it's going to use Python, which is located in our Python embedded folder, and it's going to proceed to download all the requirements in the requirements.txt file, which for your reference is over here. And here's the list of packages that it needs. All right, so after doing that, you should have successfully installed or updated this WanVideoWrapper. So let's exit out of command prompt, and we can proceed to load up ComfyUI. So let me double click on this. All right, so after starting up ComfyUI, the next step is to load the Mocha workflow onto here. Now, the awesome thing about ComfyUI is you don't need to build all these nodes and noodles from scratch. You can just drag and drop an existing workflow onto your interface. So back in this WanVideoWrapper GitHub repo, you can see that we have this example workflows folder over here. So let's click on this, and then we are going to download this one, Mocha Replace Subject version 2. So let's click on this, and then I'm going to click on this button to download the JSON file. You can save this anywhere you want. I'm just going to save it in my ComfyUI root folder. Now, after downloading this, all we need to do is drag and drop the JSON file onto the ComfyUI interface, and voila! Here is the entire workflow pre-built for you. Now, when you drag and drop this onto your interface for the first time, you might see some nodes that are outlined in red, which indicates that they are missing. So that means you have not updated the latest version of WanVideoWrapper. So see my earlier steps in this video to make sure you've updated WanVideoWrapper. Alternatively, you can also click on Manager and then click on Install Missing Custom Nodes. And while you're at it, it's probably a good idea to update ComfyUI as well. Anyways, at least for me, you can see that I don't have any missing nodes. Now, before I go over this workflow and how it works, we need to actually install some additional models for this to actually work. So over here, this includes some model links. First of all, of course, we need to download the Mocha model. Now, back to this original project page, if you click on the official Hugging Face repo, and then you click on Files and Versions, and then Preview, notice that the original Mocha model is like 28 gigabytes in size, which certainly does not fit on most consumer-grade GPUs. Fortunately, for this workflow, Kijai has already created a quantized FP8 version, which is much smaller. So let's click on this link, which would take us here, and notice that this Mocha model is only 14 gigabytes in size. So this definitely fits within my 16 gigabyte GPU. This might fit on even 12 gigabytes of VRAM with some offloading, but don't take my word for it. You're gonna need to try it out yourself. So anyways, let's click download, and this goes in ComfyUI, and then in models, and then diffusion models. Let's click save. All right, now after downloading the Mocha model, there are also a ton of things you need to download from this Hugging Face repo. So let's click on this Hugging Face repo and then click on Files and Versions. And you should see a huge list of files, which is kind of a mess. But here's what you need to download. First of all, going back to this workflow, if we scroll all the way over here, notice that this requires the WAN 2.1 VAE. This is basically in charge of encoding and decoding your video. So going back to this massive list, I'm just going to press Ctrl F and search for VAE. And here is what we need to download. Now, there are two different VAE versions. Of course, I'm going to download the BF16 one, which is a bit smaller and more optimized for a lower VRAM. Also, make sure you download this WAN 2.1 VAE and not the WAN 2.2 version. Anyways, for this, I'm going to click download over here. And this goes in ComfyUI, and then in models, and then VAE. In addition to this VAE, we also need to download this text encoder. So going back to this huge list, let's press Ctrl F again and search for UMT. So notice that down here, there are two text encoders you can download. There's going to be a BF16 version, which is 11 gigabytes in size, and then the smaller FP8 version, which is like half the size. So again, for me, since I don't have a lot of VRAM, I'm going to download the smaller FP8 version. So let me click on this, and this goes in ComfyUI, in models, and then in text encoders. Now, this workflow uses one more optional model, which is this LightX2V model. What this basically does is it helps accelerate your generation by like many times. Usually for a WAN video, it requires like 20 to 30 steps to generate the damn video. But with this LightX2V model, you can reduce it down to 6 steps. So this basically speeds up your generation by like 4 to 5 times. If you don't want to download this, you could select this node and then press Ctrl B to disable or bypass it, but it's highly recommended that you actually install and use this LightX2V model. Otherwise, it's going to take an eternity for you to generate a video. All right, so going back to this massive list of files, to download LightX2V, simply look for this LightX2V folder. So I'm going to click into this. And again, here it has a ton of models for you to choose from. So we need to choose basically the text to video models. So one of these ones, and here notice that basically these models have different ranks. The higher the rank, the higher quality the model is, but also the larger the model is. So for example, rank 256 would be 2.5 gigabytes, whereas rank 4 would be only 46 megabytes. So it really depends on how much VRAM you have or how much quality you want. For me, I'm going to download this rank 32 one, which is only 300 megabytes in size. So I'm going to click download, and this goes in ComfyUI, in models, and then in LoRa's. All right, after downloading all those models, we can now get started with the workflow. So the first thing you need to do is actually press R to refresh your models list, so it will show up when we select the models. Now, this is quite a huge and messy workflow, so let's zoom in on this section first to select all the models that we just downloaded. So over here is where we load the main Mocha model, so let's click on this dropdown and select this one. All right, and then over here, again, this is optional but highly recommended. Let's click on this dropdown and select LightX2V text to video. And then over here for this VAE component, we need to click on the dropdown and select WAN 2.1 VAE. And then over here for this text encoder, I'm going to select this FP8 version. All right, that's pretty much it. Now, what I'm going to do first is actually hold Control and drag over all these nodes to select them, and then either press this button here or Control B to basically disable or bypass these nodes. Because the first step is we need to upload the video and create a mask or basically a segmentation map of the video first. Let me show you exactly what I mean by that. So over here is where you would upload your video. So let me upload this video, and there's only one setting that you really need to note here, which is this frame load cap. This is basically how many frames of the video you want to keep. So assuming this is 24 frames per second, 81 divided by 24 frames per second is roughly like 3 seconds. So if your video is longer than 3 seconds and you set this to 81, it's going to cut your video at the 3-second mark. If you want it to actually use your entire video, then you should set this value to 0. By the way, if you're not sure about what any of these settings mean, you can also click on this question mark thing over here, which explains all the settings. So here, if I scroll down a bit, here you can see what this frame load cap means. So if I set this to 0, then all the frames are loaded. All right, so that's the first step. The second step is to upload your reference character, which you want to insert. So let's try this one. Now, here's the thing. Here it says we recommend using a reference image with a clean background. So what you should do is like use Nano Banana or an image editor to remove the background of your photo first before uploading it into here. That's actually what they recommend, but at least for me, I uploaded a ton of reference photos with backgrounds and that didn't really seem to affect the video, so I just skipped this step. But if you do see like some background artifacts in your final video, then it's recommended that you upload a character with a clean background instead. So that's Ref 1, but as you can see here, there's an optional Ref 2 component, which is disabled by default, but here you can upload an additional image of your reference character. And here it says that it's best to use a face image for Ref 2 to enhance face fidelity. So basically for Ref 1, this is mandatory. This is for like a mid shot or full body shot of your character. And then for Ref 2, this is optional, but if you want to transfer the facial details even better, then you should upload a face photo of your character. For me, I'm just going to leave this off. All right, so that's pretty much it. And basically the video goes through this segmentation step. So let me press run first to show you what happens. All right, so here's why I bypass these nodes and only run these nodes first. So basically what you need to do is actually drag the green dots plus the red dots on your image so that it would correctly segment the character in your image. So right now, as you can see, it's also capturing some of the mic, which is not ideal. So the red dot should actually be on the mic, so it knows to segment out this mic. And let's add the green dots here and here, for example, and see what happens. All right, so now if I do that, then it's not capturing her hair. So let me also move the green dot up here a bit and the red dot over here a bit because part of her top is also not captured. And then let's press run again. And it's still not really correct. I'm intentionally showing you this example because the segmentation is a bit trickier. So next, let's place the green dot like on her headphones so it also removes her headphones as well. And let's see if this is any better. All right, so this looks a lot better. I think this mask is good enough. And that's pretty much it. Once you're satisfied with the mask, then we can now press Control and select all these nodes and press Control B to enable them again. All right, so basically your video and your reference character image is going to be passed through this Mocha model. Now here, this WanVideoWrapper workflow usually contains this torch compile settings. Now this torch compile settings often creates a ton of problems from users because here it says it does require you to have Triton installed, which is a pain to install for Windows, plus you need Torch 2.7 or higher. Now, at least for me, I don't have Torch 2.7 or higher, so what I like to do is just take this component and disable it by pressing this button or Control B. So this is an optional component. All right, so it's using this Mocha model, plus you can also add this light X to V lower to speed up your generation by like 4 to 5 times. And then next, it's going through this block swap component. And this component, if you hover over this question mark, basically swaps some of your VRAM usage to your CPU memory. And this is especially useful if you have low VRAM. Here it says that Mocha is actually a lot heavier on VRAM than other models, so lots of block swap is probably necessary. So the default for 14 billion parameter models is 40. If you still get an out of memory error, then I would try to increase this to like 50 or 60 and see if that works. And then here you have the option of entering a positive prompt and negative prompt, but honestly, you don't really need to enter anything because it's just replacing the character of an existing video. So we don't have to really worry about that there. All right, then basically this part takes your input video from over here and then the mask from over here. So this tells it, what part to remove from the video and what parts to keep. And then the reference image, which we uploaded over here. And then all these inputs basically go through this K sampler to generate the video. Now, here is the step count. This is basically how many steps it takes for the model to generate your video. In general, the more steps you have, the higher the quality would be, but it's going to take slower. However, note that because we are using this light X2V LoRa, it's recommended to keep the step count to 4 to 6 only. And then same with CFG, it's recommended to just keep this at 1. Here for the scheduler, this is basically the algorithm that is used to generate the video. Feel free to play around with these settings, but the default value seems to work pretty well already. And that's pretty much it. You don't really need to worry about all of these settings. All right, so let's press run and see what we get. All right, now you can see it's being fed through this K sampler to actually generate the video, and then it's being decoded, and here's what we get. So it does the character transfer very well while keeping the details of the mic intact. Very cool. Notice it's able to handle facial expressions very well, especially her eye movements, which WanAnimate doesn't really do well. Now, by default, the save output setting is set to true, so this is going to be automatically saved in your ComfyUI output folder. One other thing to note is that by default, your video format is going to be like this, where on the left is your original video and on the right is your generation. What if you want to only output your generation as a separate video? Well, to do that, what we need to do is actually, instead of using this concatenate step, we just need to directly link this image's output from this decoder to this image's input. So this basically removes this step. So now if I press run again, it should only output my generation and not the original video side by side. So in a nutshell, that is how to run Mocha locally on your computer. This might look like a super complicated workflow to you at first, but I hope that this tutorial makes it a lot easier for you to understand. This is probably the best character replacement that we have right now. And this unlocks a ton of possibilities. Like you can just film yourself or someone else acting out a scene and then replace them with your new character and create an entire film from that. Or you can also replace people in existing videos to generate some really funny or viral content. Anyways, let me know what you think of Mocha, and if you run into any errors during the installation, welcome to paste the error message in the comments below and I'll try to help you troubleshoot as much as possible. As always, I will be on the lookout for the top AI news and tools to share with you. So if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, there's just so much happening in the world of AI every week. I can't possibly cover everything on my YouTube channel. So to really stay up to date with all that's going on in AI, be sure to subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. The link to that will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.